focused on, but look at the article's name once more: The Shattered Mirror of Society in the Form of Karmic Justice. We came across the abstract. We talked about how sociology of literature provides a framework for understanding the complicated and dynamic connections between literature and society. We also came across detective fiction, and certain social issues were directly connected to karmic justice in the novel, and then there were none. It's one of the most popular and enduring novels in the history that focuses on many of the social issues which have been discussed through characters and story later on. Then there was a discussion that what is the context of the article, what does it aim at. So the aim of this article is to explain how social issues are addressed and how they can help us understand the literary phenomenon of that time. The novel is not just containing characters which are unjust in their nature, but it also focuses on the phenomena that is shaped by social structure and many events and the consequences that follows along with it. Then detective fiction as a mirror of society. Of course, detective fiction includes or it deals with social issues that provides an assessment of the condition of the society. And this particular novel, and then there were none, also focuses on crime fiction that has to do with political agenda as well. Then one by one, they are discussing in the article the social issues that are there, and it includes classism, hierarchy, justice, guilt, racism, gender roles, and morality. I think this is something that we did talk about on campus the other day, but it's important that we go through it through the analysis of the nursery rhyme as well. You were given an assignment. I've only checked I think one assignment, and that was a very bad assignment. I don't remember whose assignment was it. I clearly shared with you that you must not just completely or blindly copy paste or get it done from AI because you don't know how to give the prompt. So that assignment was bad. I will give you feedback on assignment as well in a bit. After the class, I'll record the feedback and I'll share it with you. You can take a look at how to do your assignments. The signs of social and cultural problems are transferred and transmitted through dialogical relations throughout Christie's text, but not so clear or overt. However, by considering her story, one can describe socio-cultural landscape of that particular period. First of all, it is very important to indicate that the novel is about the characters and they are in an order and they are getting killed one by one. What their crimes are and how their events are related to social issue is something that we have to come across. Yes, the other day when we talked about the plot analysis, characters, and how everything takes place, we did talk about the basic story multiple times from different perspectives. So, in order to understand who died, how, and what were the reasons, all of that is mentioned over here to highlight the social issues of that time. Now, these 10 people that are there in the article, they are not actually related to each other, but there is one relation that they have gone through something wrong in their past. They have done something wrong in their past. So 10 people who are not related to each other are displayed in an then there were none. It begins with an invitation from you and Owen for these people to visit the deserted island with the big mansion. Being like a holiday for them, they accept this invitation although they cannot remember who invited them. Deaths that occur that night, however, will cause chaos and fear to reign on the island. The boat, which is expected to arrive next morning, does not approach. Now the guests they are left stranded on the island and they must locate the clever killer without falling victim to his trap. A child's poetry described how these deaths will occur. The nursery rhyme on which you have actually written one assignment already. So one by one, for example, the first line, you can see page 9 per, you have it. 10 little Indian boys went out to dine, one choked his little self and then there were 9. So the first person that they talk about is the wealthy young man Anthony Matson who accidentally hit two children with his car, and the first person who dies with the poison drink, just like in the first line of the poem, leaving behind nine objects left. He has no moral values and lives his life as if he was always right because he does not feel guilty or ashamed of what he has done before. This also takes us to the real representation of people around us. They are like that. People who are toxic, who are narcissists, who actually have wronged other people, they never accept that they have done something wrong to the other person. And Anthony Martin represented that kind of people in the society. So it's a societal representation of what was happening at that time. To him, his life was more important than those two children who he hit. His reputation as being handsome and wealthy makes him innocent, and his guilt counts like an accident. Although he's guilty, he did it with with all his conscious mind, but he thinks that because he's rich and handsome and wanted by the women around him, he does not feel the same way. This shows us how a person's beliefs in human rights are becoming lighter, and the juries in the court protect the guilty person just because of his appearances and social dynamics and power dynamics and money matters that he has handled. Biases and prejudices can play a role in how individuals are treated in legal systems. Then, nine little Indian boys sat up very late, one overslept himself, and then there were eight. The next person to die is Ethel Rogers, who is one of the servants of the mansion. In fact, her guilt is tied to her husband Thomas Rogers' guilt, who is other servant of the mansion. Their mistake is to kill Jennifer Brady, who was an elderly lady. And what do? They actually let her die because they wanted to inherit or get her money. Her death is represented in the same as the lines in the poem, and there are really eight objects left. Indeed, it shows that prioritizing that person's well-being over the well-being of others raises important questions about the morality. Remember, one of the aspects and themes of the poem is morality, so they are talking about that. Moreover, this is both a personal and social issue, since in a society people tend to do what the majority is doing. Whatever the majority is doing, they disregard the rest of it. Mr. Roger, as a servant, doubts the other characters, who's a doctor, by thinking he has lots of sleeping pills with him, but he does not say anything to him but continues to serve food to him. So, this showcases the cycle of inequality, the silence, the culture of silence that creates a lot of societal hindrances and stigmas. Then, eight little Indian boys traveling in Devon. One said he'd stay rather than there were seven. Before the husband of Ethel, General John Godson MacArthur is accused of purposely sending an ordinary lieutenant to death because he learned that his wife had an secret affair with him. He actually sent him to a point of no return where death was certain. So the phrase in the poem, he'd stay there, represents him, since he says he wants to sit there for a little bit more while one of the other characters goes to dinner. Therefore, he dies from traumatic blow to his head while staying and waiting for his death. In fact, he is plagued by what he has done and what he has become, a more lonely person after his mistake, because people in society, even his wife, have started to exclude him. So he has acted as a soldier, and he should sacrifice himself for the people, not be selfish and not want a person to die even he had made any mistakes or made him angry, somehow creating a contradiction or contrast between their expectation and the reality of their work. The desire of killing is the irony of people's occupations. Then, seven little Indian boys. Now, this is the kind of analysis you were supposed to do in your assignment as well. This information should have been there, symbols, images, and all those aspects that were assigned to you if you were assigned shift analysis, twist analysis, optics और typecast. कोई भी analysis आपको assign किया गया था, उसमें ये सारा analysis होना लाजमी था. After him, Mr. Rogers becomes the fourth person to die. Instead of recognizing the value of dignity of human life and always seeking peaceful and non-violent solutions to issues like Roger have, he easily chooses to violate the basic human rights of a woman who is weaker than himself. This is the kind of man he seems to be. Okay, next we have, okay, I've just added the other students who have just joined us late. I hope they can actually listen to the voice and they are with us. Anyway, so we were talking about Mr. Rogers. He becomes the fourth person to die, and he thinks that his work should be suitable for his act so that other guests are very impressed by his ability to fulfill his duties. And because of this, other characters do not give permission to him for mourning after his wife's death, and he is still regarded like a servant to them. So he's treated badly by the rest of them. Now, this raises questions about the conflict between the betrayal and loyalty and royalty of responsibilities that he was supposed to do. The insufficient proof makes them to be found unguilty. He is found dead on the ground with an axe with he was chopping the wood. Thomas Roger had died according to his class since his working time is the best choice to kill him for the killer while everybody is sleeping, but Mr. Rogers is working. So that also represents the social issue that when everybody is sleeping, working class is always working. Six little Indians boys playing with a hive, a bumblebee stung one, and then there were five. When the issue comes to Emily Brent, who is the fifth one to be killed with a lethal dose of potassium cyanide, it becomes much more clearer how powerful and influence religion has on society and thereby individuals one by one. She fired a servant called Beatrice Taylor just because of her being pregnant out of wedlock, which has been viewed as a social taboo and violation of traditional moral and religious values. This caused Beatrice to commit suicide, and so this is Emily's fault. While it is important to treat each situation with empathy and understanding, to recognize the families come in many different forms. She just believes what her religion tells her and never accepts her mistake. The staunch believers of any religion, जिसे हम कट्टर मौलवी कहते हैं, they actually can cause a lot of problems for the society rather than creating harmonization within the society. For example, in Pakistan, now this is my limited exposure and understanding, you can definitely disagree with me. All the religious scholars, all they have to talk about is how women should stay at home, how most of their talks are based on how women should be this way or that way, and then how the other prominent issue that they want to talk about is the dissemination of Islam. It's very unlikely for most of the religious scholars to talk about anything productive, anything progressive, anything that makes the society better version of themselves. Yes, they are doing something in the name of religion and they are doing in the best of their capacities and abilities, but then they are very blindsided. They are like a horse who's wearing a eye cider where they are not looking sideways, they are just looking forward. वो एक ही डायरेक्शन में देखते चले जाते हैं, they do not want to make any changes. It is important to make changes according to the society. Old teachings or outdated teachings cannot work for the modern society in such a productive way, and Emily Brent is one of those kinds. Of course, a woman getting impregnated and giving birth to a child out of wedlock is something that is not accepted in her religion, but that does not make her the judger or somebody who can convict her of her sins and put her through hell. But this is exactly what she did, and Beatrice committed suicide. Instead of helping the girl, she actually made things worse for her. That is her mistake, that is her fatal flaw, or we can call it a character flaw or a hamasha in her character, that she only thinks black and white. Who thinks that way? Emily Brent. Okay, she wants to fire her not just because of her religious beliefs but also because of the thoughts of society over her, thinking that society not accepting of non traditional family structures does not welcome this poor girl because of their belief and tradition. Therefore, she makes herself believe that whoever was in her place would do same thing. This mentality of society was against single mothers at that time. They were hated and became social outcasts occasionally. Brent is utterly unmoved by her passing. Now, she's not even bothered that Beatrice has, committed suicide, leaving behind a newborn infant. Now, this is something that she should be bothered about, but she avoided regardless of any sympathy for her or Christian forgiveness. Not only in Islam, in Christianity, it is also there that we must forgive humans for their sins and crimes. We should hate the crime and sin, but we should not hate the person. But that is exactly what she did. Although she always read the Bible and prays every time. She has no sympathy for her maid like acting like way Christianity wants. Therefore, Emily Brent dies as well, just like in her part of the poem, which is comparable to the ways she's killed. Essentially, the lines with the bee sting represents the injection that kills her, leaving five little Indian objects behind. So you see, her character could be one of the representations, one of the guiding lights towards the one of the most less talked social issues of the society, which are directly and indirectly related to religion. Religion is a pathway, is a light, is a guiding light, but it also misguides and misuses its privilege to put people through a lot of hatred, estrangement, delusion, and so many other problems could be there. For example, in Pakistan, it's a very common activity and practice among people to make the minorities suffer. They kill them for their support. I mean, just for the sake of, because they kill them, they can kill them, they kill them anywhere. There was this case a few years ago that a married couple was accused of blasphemy, and they did not actually conducted any research or found out the facts or any evidences. They just put both husband and wife in a live bhatti and burned them alive. They were still alive, और जहाँ क्रीमेशन होती है उसमें दोनों हस्बैंड वाइफ को जिंदा जला दिया था. Later on, after autopsy, it was found out that the woman was pregnant. So these people, these fanatics, lunatics in the name of religion, killed two innocent people. See, innocent until proven guilty is something that we must believe in. They had no proof, they had no research, they just killed them because they could. So that is the kind of character Emily Brent represents. That she is blindsided, she is only thinking in a black and white manner. Then the sixth person is Justice Wargrave, who's a retired judge and justice lover. Look at the word choice. He's a justice lover. The first time when the readers meet him, in the first lines of the book, they feel the atmosphere of social hierarchy for which he is in the first class part of carriage. In the corner, a first class smoking carriage, Mr. Justice Wargrave. His obsession with justice as at the expense of others' values such as compassion, empathy, or fairness has negative consequences. So he's almighty. He is a kind of a person who is paradoxical. He has a personality which is contradictory and inconsistent, right? What he believes does not go with his behavior, what he expects does not go with his personality. In other words, although he says that he does not want innocent people to die, in the letter he writes, there is a sentence related to animal abuse in which they are the most innocent ones, living beings with the ability to experience pain, fear, and suffering. However, he killed animals inhumanly when he was young and he wants more cruelty. Therefore, the person's personal problems may lead some people to devastating consequences. His occupational irony is, now, irony could be of many types: situational irony, dramatic irony. And occupational irony is that his occupation states something but he does something else. He is a man of law, but then later on, by killing 10 people, he takes law into his own hands. So that is occupational irony. Stating something and doing something else is called occupational irony. And of course, he finds escape from the so called law. Moreover, since he's in the first class, the people on the island have so much respect for him. Look at the duality of society. They only respect designation, money, and power. The deaths on the island are just his plans. When he thinks that they are not innocent people and they do not get punished in court, he tries just a way to get justice, thinking that they do not deserve to live. His epilogue at the end shows how he is paradoxical and he does not want to get justice, but he actually wants to kill some real people. So, in his epilogue, the reader can see the moral complexities of Hargraves and stance on crime and justice. So his character reveals how the desire for crime and the desire for justice are two seemingly opposite objects, are linked. Crime, which is intrinsic to its nature, tends to be just another side of justice. The mysterious essence of the wish to punish sinners is demonstrated by Justice Wargrave. The character is full of ethical dilemmas. What is a dilemma? Dilemma is where a character or a person cannot decide what is correct, what is morally accepted, and what is not. So it's just like the rest of the human beings in the society who cannot decide what to do and what not to do. Four little Indians boys going out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were three. The other one has both occupational paradoxes and moral problems. Dr. Edward Armstrong comes to the island because he thinks that Miss Owen is ill, and the book progresses. The reader realizes the criminal offense. While doctors are trained to provide care and save lives, he harms people and does not care about his promise or a person's life, which creates a paradox in his occupational life. See, there could be a question which of the characters represents occupational irony through their actions discussed. In that case, you'll be talking about Justice Wargrave and Edward Armstrong. Both could be discussed. He is very concerned with keeping his integrity, and if he loses his reputation, he loses everything that he has. The law system of the country has collapsed so much that his guilt counts as an accident, and although he killed a person, he does not get punished just like others. During his time on the island, he continues to be a doctor, and he thinks that he's a respectful person in a society. To put it in a simple words, there are so many people, so many doctors, there's so many um, documentaries available in which doctors actually accept that their negligence has caused the death of a certain person, and they have to live with that fact. They do not tell it to the people, and it is counted as just a mere accident. Who knows whether they did it on purpose or it happened due to negligence? So that is why Justice Wargrave and Armstrong, both of their occupationals are paradoxes. They becomes the irony of their, uh, you know, status, their social hierarchy in the society. Three little Indians boys walking in the zoo, a big bear hugged one, and then there were two. A former police officer, William Henry Bloor, is told that he has to come to the island to protect Owen's jewelry from the thief. However, he is the actual thief since he stole person's life. William Henry Bloor is revealed to have been responsible for the wrongful conviction of Stephen Landau, a former soldier who was accused of planting a bomb that killed several people. Bloor had given false testimony that helped secure Landau's conviction and subsequent execution. So he's a corrupt cop, right? He is a selfish man who blames nearly everyone on the island. He does not, perjure himself, and for the financial gains, he uh, misuses his privilege as a policeman. Two little Indian boys sitting in the sun, one got frizzled up, and then there were one. Now, Philip Lombard, who's a Casanova and a womanizer, a self serving and mercenary who is willing to do whatever it takes to survive, he was a soldier in a military expedition in Africa who left a group of natives to die to save himself, which is a very huge guilt related to racism and the lives of lots of people. Now, there could be a question which one of the characters or uh, name the characters in the novel who executed the concept of racism, which is also a social crime and a issue of 21st century. Philip Lombard, being part of military, he left multiple people to survive. There was only one way for him to survive is to let them die. But he let them die in a very painful manner, in a slow manner that looked like premeditated. And of course, Lombard killed 21 people and he's not bothered about it. And he also left various derogatory comments for the people of Africa, referring to them as niggers and showing a general disdain for their culture. Similarly, by murdering the poor children of the city, other characters are not offended. The character of Vera says they were only natives. She mentioned them like they were unimportant. Or he says self preservation's of a man first duty, and natives don't mind dying. Now, remember, one task was given, and most of you were absent on the task. I have noted that down. You were supposed to come up with the summary of the chapters assigned to you and then talk about the textual evidences. Without the textual evidences, your answers are merely summaries. They will not count as an analytic perspective. So this article can definitely help you jot down some important lines within the article. The harmful and offensive nature of language dehumanizes. Now, this is a very good word to remember, dehumanization. Um, he accepts his guilt but never feels sorry for what he has done to the people. He is said to have taken food from the tribe, contributing to their famine and eventual death. The fact that he believes Vera deeply, since she's a woman, okay, sitting by the sea, okay, since she's a woman, emphasizing positive discrimination and gender roles brings his death, although he is so clever and can avoid death until the very end of the book. Sitting by the sea of the sun, he is gunned down not by a lethal killer or a real killer, but by Vera, who thinks he's a killer just because they are both left behind. With his death, there is only one little Indian object, one real person left on the island. One little soldier boy left all alone. He went and hanged himself, and then there were none. So, Vera Claythorne, who is chosen as a secretary of Mrs. Owen, and she wants to get away with her past because she killed a boy who she took care of and fell in love with a man called Hugo, who's brother of the deceased child. The birth of his book took Hugo's chance to be a heir, and so they planned to kill the boy. In order to, she was a babysitter. In order to become one with the Hugo, she actually kills the child, and she's very much bothered about it. Now, a study about relationship between parents and guilt found that they were rated more favorably on various personality traits such as intelligence, kindness, and sociability compared to less attractive individuals. This is something that you can incorporate into your analysis as well. Now, these characters and their thoughts and their mistakes and events show the reader how society is corrupted because of all of them took people's life, though some of them did not do this directly, although there should be no reason when the issue comes to murder. They killed people easily just for personal reasons. The novel setting the setting is the time and the place of the novel on a remote island, and the diverse backgrounds of the characters provide opportunities to consider colonial and racial dynamics. Therefore, the author has made the island in the novel a penal colony for them, since they are drawn there to become dead. Karmic justice is completed with justice. Wargrave's letter, which he writes, he tried to do what he count as justice could not do. They all should have been punished. But killing them is not only the way. However, because of lack of justice in the courts, somebody had to take the decision. So, all in all, if we conclude the novel which is concerned with providing a form of karmic justice for unethical behavior of society contains character facts, phenomenon shaped by social structures. Although the characters are guilty of various crimes and punishment is left to mysterious anonymous killer, Agatha Christie has managed to show social issues such as social classism, gender roles, hierarchy, justice, guilt, racism, morality. Many of the characters confess that they have committed sin, but they have never felt sinful. That is the root cause of all the societal issues that we can find out there, right? The actions of the characters and the roles also display their individuality. The structured tradition beliefs of the society significantly influence other aspects of the plot. She also tells us that while the situation is shifting, it is important for individuals in the generation of the tear down of the boundaries set by class system. The author chose characters to justify that. So, all in all, the entire novel focuses on the karmic justice, the social issues through characters, the rhyming scheme, rhyming poem, 10 Little Soldiers, all of it that we have studied so far, discussed so far, comes into consideration when we are talking about this particular novel and this article.